Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Dropping into Happiness. We are your hosts. I am Rachel.
And I'm Maggie.
Yay, we did it right this week.
Woohoo!
Back on track.
Remember the quote at the end. We got to remember the quote. And there we go.
I know, but this is the second to the last episode of the year. Because we're, like I've mentioned before. I know. I've mentioned before. Yeah.
That's the big
Maggie and I are going to take the last 2 weeks of 2022 off. So we will end the year, though, on episode 50. And this is episode 49. So we've got this episode, one more episode, and then we'll meet you guys back here in 2023. I cannot believe we're saying that. I can't believe we are almost at 2023. So Maggie and I thought, actually Maggie brought this up, it might be nice to reflect back on our 2022. So that's what we're going to do this episode, Dear Sundrops. We are going to look back at this year. And I think I've said before too, actually one of my favorite techniques that WW has talked about is rewinding the tape. And I feel like that's essentially what we're going to do today. We're going to rewind the tape on this year, look at what we've done, what we've accomplished, where we've come from, what we've learned. And we just really kind of want to talk it out together, because I think that's a great idea for all of us. Because like I said, one of my favorite techniques is rewinding the tape and looking at because I think I've said this before and I'll say it again. There is no fail. If we're like, oh, I think this year was horrible. Cool. What do you feel was horrible? Right? What do you want to do differently for next year? What do you want to not repeat next year? That's all things we can learn from. So Maggie and I are going to talk ours out. I hope you guys can talk yours out as well. I've had members tell us before, I answer you guys' questions, but you never respond back to me. So yeah, if you want to talk out loud, like we're there in the room with you, feel free, friends. We are there for you. But yeah, we're going to, I guess, stroll down memory lane. And I have my handy dandy book. So I think I've shown you guys this before. So at the beginning of this year, I decided to, first of all, we've mentioned the shift 100 times. But I feel like it's been a while since we mentioned The Shift. The Shift is a book by Dr. Gary Foster. He is the CFO at WW. He wrote this phenomenal book this year. And one of the things in the book, though, in the very beginning, he actually tells you to write a letter to yourself. And look, at the very first thing in my book is my letter to myself.
Oh, I
know. Yeah. So it's the letter to yourself. So when you're having those rough days, those rough weeks, that's something you can go back and read to yourself. But yeah, I broke it all down for this year. So I had activity and food and my sleep and my mindset and things I wanted to work on. And I had reflected on the previous year, on 2020, and what I had done. And so that's kind of what Maggie and I are going to do today. So has there been anything that you feel like kind of stood out for you this year, Maggie, that you want to pull into 2023, or something you want to completely take out?
I don't know, because I do know some things that I want to maintain. And I was just, Rachel journals, I feel like I take pictures throughout the whole year, and that's how I go back and reflect on like big milestones. So like I set the year off pretty strong in terms of my activity, like ran my third marathon and PR'd by like an hour and a half or more. I like had shaved off that time. And it was in the year 2022 that I committed to running the Dopey Challenge. So, this January 2023, I will have completed that. So that was a really big step in saying like, oh, I can do this, really building my self-efficacy when it came to doing hard things. So this past year was definitely filled with a lot of activity when it comes to running. Like I ran the January race, I ran a 10-mile race in April. I signed up for the Dopey, did a lot of training for that, ran a challenge in November. So obviously my running is a big passion of mine, and I do plan to continue that into 2023. However, just not to this grand of an extent. I'm going to cut back on some of the distance challenges a bit and just kind of focus on my speed and, in the shorter distances of things like the 5K. One big update for me was I joined a new gym in June. So it's more of a CrossFit style gym. And
Yeah.
on December 10th, I'll have my first ever CrossFit competition. I'm doing a functional fitness
Are you really?
category. And what's really
Yay.
funny is one goal that Rachel and I both set at the beginning of 2022 is that we wanted to jump rope.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I signed up for this competition, and one of the standards is single under jump roping.
Yeah.
For the category. For the more advanced, it's double unders. But for what I'm competing in, it's single unders. And so I was like, oh, I actually have to practice jump roping now. So
Yeah.
every time I've been going to the gym the past couple of months, I've just been doing 100 single unders and like calling it a day.
Nice.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. It took me until like October to start really consistently jump roping. I'm
Yeah.
not doing any tricks or anything like that. But
Yeah.
that was one of those goals that I set that was like more idealistic of like, oh, I'm going to jump rope every single day and I'm going to become this like person who can do fun tricks on the jump rope. It was a cute little dream, but obviously the why wasn't relevant enough to me to like make
Yeah.
it consistent. So that was kind of funny. But like full circle, like I made it happen, but there was just a
Yeah.
huge chunk of time where I was not jump roping at all.
Same.
So that was big. I'm really excited to take my new focus on CrossFit and like functional fitness into 2023. Like I definitely see myself pushing that a lot more, doing more of those competitions locally, just kind of
Yeah,
outside
that's
my comfort zone.
awesome.
Because yeah, I can run 26 miles and that's really cool. I'm not diminishing
Yeah.
that, but like I can't do one pull up without an assisted band. And
Okay.
I'm just like, I want to like just some of my fitness related goals are changing a little bit. So
Well,
I'm
because
excited
you've
about
crushed
that.
it. Like you said, you've done more than one marathon. Like you've done those.
Yeah.
You've proven to yourself that you can do those. So now it's on to like a different kind of fitness challenge, which I love. I think
And
that's
I
so
think
fun.
shaking things up like that really helps when you're feeling in a rut or,
Yeah.
it just helps you use your growth mindset where you're, being inspired and trying new things. You're just like more likely to stick with your lifestyle. I think in
Yeah.
terms of the food pillar, my biggest breakthrough was menu planning and meal prepping. And that really kicked off when I went back into teaching full time, where I was out of my house and I had to rely a little bit more on planning and prepping and having meals ready to go. But
Yeah.
that made a huge difference in cutting down on my eating out and spending a lot more points than I had to spend. So I felt the weeks that I was really consistent with that, I did see success on the scale and I felt better and like emotionally as well because I knew that I was staying within my points budget and doing the things to take care of my body and it was supporting my
Yeah.
activity. So definitely want to maintain that in 2023 and even expand on that, like trying new recipes
Oh,
and getting
yeah.
even more creative with meal planning. We talked about in last week's episode with 0 Point Foods, like just seeing how I can shake things up. I would say those were the biggest things for me.
Yeah.
I didn't lose much weight. I played around with the same few pounds
Yeah.
for over a year now. And I could get discouraged about that, but I'd so rather play around with these few pounds where I'm at now than where I was 100 pounds ago.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to feel discouraged about it. I think that's just a part of navigating this lifestyle is
Oh,
not
yeah.
every week will be a weight loss mode kind of week,
Yeah.
But I would like to get to goal in 2023. So
Yay.
we'll
But
see.
see, I like that though, because it's not like, oh, I'm going to give myself 6 weeks to hit this. No, like give yourself some time. I think so. Russ, shout out to Russ. I know he's a listener, and I know we've mentioned our buddy Russell before. He's doing another challenge. He likes to do specific challenges, and he does videos of them on his social media for accountability. But I love that he had said that the other day. He's like, oh, my, I want to hit my goal weight, in the next 2 to 3 years. And I was like, I adore that he said that. Like, I love that he wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to do this in next month. Like, that puts such, for one, stress on ourselves. And we set these just ridiculous expectations. And then when we don't hit them, we feel like we failed, even if we've been crushing it in every other aspect of it. And so I love that this is where our mindset has turned to. Because honestly, weight wise, I had a horrible year. Weight wise. like, keep that in mind. Weight wise, I've had a horrible year. I put on a lot of weight. I started back working out in the world last October. So it's been just over a year. And in that year, I have put on, how much have I put on? 20 pounds in the last year. Not happy about it, but other habits that I have still maintained 100%. I still drink my water religiously. I still will not have a regular soda. I just won't. Even like regular juice and fruit punch. And I'm like, that's a lot of sugar. Like I still just can't do that. So there are still certain habits that I have embedded in my day. I still have my same breakfast every day, which I love and adore, with my spinach and my avocados and all of those things. But in my mind, I see, cool, what can I work on? What has been causing my friction? You know, we've talked about fuel and friction. What has been causing my friction? And I've been utilizing that because, especially with the new year coming up, which next week, FYI, Maggie and I are going to really kind of break down our goals for 2023, what we're looking forward to, what we're going to plan on. But I'm using this year, though, like I'm using what has gotten in my way, what has been a hindrance, what has been something that kind of caused me, you know, a hard time. And I don't see it as a failure of a year, though, at all, in no way, shape, or form. I did a lot of things. I tried a lot of things this year, and a couple of things that I really wanted to do that I ended up not succeeding in. Like I really wanted to run the turkey trot for this Thanksgiving. And I was practicing, I was running during the summer. And then, like I told you, which I knew would happen, I'm in Southern California, and when it gets to the point where it is 95 as the low, I cannot run outside. I can't inhale. And then that was even time where like, I even then I don't want to go to the gym because I'm like, ew, I'm sweaty outside. I don't want to go sweat inside and then sweat outside. Like I get to that mindset, and it totally kicked me when it came to my activity levels. So getting back into my activity, figuring out where my extra points had been coming from. FYI, it was the donuts at work. So I even have like a Post-it on my desk computer that says, I do not want a donut. And it was so funny because I had posted a picture of that, and somebody was like, you know, you really shouldn't do that. If you completely tell yourself that you can't have something, you're going to just crave it. And I was like, no. I don't even like those donuts. I don't like them. I eat them because they're in there, not because I like those donuts. So I've always told myself I will only ever get a donut if it's my favorite, if it's my absolute favorite donut. I don't even like those other ones. Why do I eat them? I don't like them, and I eat them, and then I have the extra points, and then I'm mad about it. So I have my Post-it. I do not want a donut. And I've even had other people in the building text me when they're trying to keep themselves there. They'll text me, I do not want a donut.
Yeah.
And then the guy that brings them all the time, he like has not been bringing them as often because he saw my Post-it and he felt really bad that was a struggle I was having. So he stopped bringing the donuts. I was like, oh, thank you. But like, you know what I mean? Figuring these things out, getting like what has, you know what I mean? Like I've been writing them down. I've been, like you said, journaling again. I like to write down, even if it's not like written. I have a virtual, like a digital journal as well. And every night at 8 p.m. my computer goes put it in because it's time. It reminds me to journal for my day. And it could be about how I'm feeling. It could be about my family. It could be about my wellness. It could be about my activity. I have different like categories for all of these, but I write something down, how I'm feeling, where it's going. And I want to get a little bit more specific though, when it comes to my journaling. I want to talk about, you know, what happened when this happened, or how did I feel after I ate that kind of thing. Cause I feel like I've kind of moved away from like that feeling of understanding why we eat, I guess. I've kind of gotten back into a little bit more of the mindset of like mindless eating. And I don't want to do that. I don't like that. I don't like how I feel when I do that.
I definitely feel like I got into that as well in 2022. I feel like the pillar that struggled the most, if we want to call it that, was the food pillar for me. And it really was the mindlessness, and my relationship with tracking really took a hit in 2022.
Yeah.
I used to be a tracking machine. That's what helped me lose 100 pounds. And it wasn't because I was never having high point foods. It was like I was tracking them. I was working them in. I saw how they impacted the budget. I was looking up points ahead of time, all that. In 2022, I still haven't figured out what the cause is, what the
Mm.
excuse is, whatever you want to say. But like, I would just eat things and then maybe look up the points later, maybe not at all. There would be days where I just didn't track anything. And then, it never lasted multiple days in a row. But when you have that sort of like like that negative momentum creeping in, or just
Mhm.
like it affects you. And
Oh,
then you
yeah.
beat yourself up. And then you're like, why can't I do this? This used to work in the past. And I really
Yeah.
don't know what it was so much about this past year that really like took a hit with my tracking. And that's why I love the Weight Watchers program update that just shows you the tracking streak, because then you're not even
Mhm.
limited to like a specific meal every day. It's just like, okay, you have to get back into the habit of like tracking is like brushing your teeth. It's non judgmental. You have a high point day,
Yeah.
whatever, put it in there, keep it moving. Like, that's what I want to get back to, is like 2020, 2021 Maggie tracking mindset of just like,
Yeah.
this is what I do. It's just a part of my healthy hygiene routine. And I'm going to spend more time beyond this podcast, like trying to get curious about why. Like, is it just that this is hard and building a habit takes a long time? It's not just something that happens even in a year. When you haven't been tracking your food for like 26 years and then all of a
Yep.
sudden
Right. Yeah.
you're trying to track every day. Like, I've been trying to practice grace with myself. I've been trying not to beat myself up, trying to focus on the things that I'm doing well. But I'm like, gosh, like, I know that's what makes the biggest difference in terms of my success. Like, what is getting in the way? Like, is it a bunch of little
Yeah.
things at once? Is it, it's so frustrating when you know what works and you're
Yeah.
not doing it. You're just like, what
Well,
is it?
see,
Is it
I think part of
reconnecting
my,
with the why?
but see, my struggle was when I first started WW, I was only at, so for those who don't know, I work at a radio station. I was only at the station for maybe 6 weeks, and then we went on lockdown. And
Mm-hmm.
I literally didn't go back into the station for almost 2 years. And so I had lost all of my weight at home.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm in the station, I've been trying to figure out, like, why is this happening? Why am I
Yeah.
doing this? Why am I grabbing extra food? Why am I not tracking my points in the middle of the day? That's why I started to do my alarms, because I would get crazy busy and not realize what time it was. And then by the time lunch would roll around, I'd be so hungry. I'd be like, I don't want to have that little bowl of whatever I brought. I'm going to go get it, whatever. And that was not working. That was not helping me. So I also realized too, though, that when I know this, that I'm an emotional eater. And I love my job. I really, really do. But it is very high paced sometimes. And it can get very, very, very stressful, because I'm a man of many hats in this place, and I work in a lot of different departments. And I was getting to the point where I was so stressed out. I would just eat to eat because I was stressed out. So literally, like the week before I got COVID, because I've been out of work for almost 2 weeks, I was like, I'm going to bring some gum to work. I'm going to get me some sugar-free gum. And on those moments where I'm stressing out, I needed something. I needed to flip my habit, if that makes sense. I needed to be like, okay, instead of grabbing food, I have to do something else. Because in the past, when I was working from home, I'd be like, I'm going for a walk. Well, I can't do that. I can just walk out of the building and be like, peace out, I'll be back later. So, like, I had to figure out something else to do. And that's what I decided I'm going to do. So for the rest of this year, going into next year, I'm going to try to utilize some gum. Because I do have my snacks. I have a snack at 10. I have a snack at 3. But in those in-between times when I'm not hungry and it's strictly from the stress of my day, I had to have something else to lean on. And so I think I'm going to chew gum. I'm like, that's what I came up with. That's what I'm going to try. That's something that because I didn't have, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. This is new territory essentially, because I was never in the building. So yeah.
And I think too, I had workshops this morning, the day that we're recording this, and someone mentioned like, I just tend to self-sabotage. They're like, I'll have one day, like we were talking about Thanksgiving, and she's like, I got a blue dot and I still had things that I enjoyed and I was so proud of myself. And then the very next day I was like, oh, I did a great job. Now let's just eat whatever we want. And she said, I feel like I wanted to self-sabotage, but I didn't. And we were celebrating that. But then in the chat, people were talking about like, oh yeah, I self-sabotaged this too and all this. And I was like, wait a minute, y'all, like, none of us wake up and think like, oh, I want to just derail everything that I've worked for today. Like, I just want to give up on, I just want to quit my health today. Like, no, none of us really, and if we said that out loud, we would just laugh because it's just so silly to say. Like, I was voted most dramatic in high school. And like, sometimes I use that to my advantage because I'm like, listen to how dramatic I sound. Like, I'm going to quit my health today. Like, no. So it's like self-sabotage isn't a thing. It's like things are getting in our way. That's either making it easier to make the unhealthy choice or making it harder to make the healthy choice.
Mm-hmm.
There are techniques that maybe we know worked in the past that we haven't been implementing because they weren't a habit yet. And that's human nature. It takes time. So like, the chewing of the gum, or, like I'm going to talk about this more in next week's episode, but like, oh, Seth wants pizza. Okay, he can have his High Point pizza. I'm going to make pizza at home because I know that I can control the points and I'll feel more at peace with that. Like, I've done that in the past. Okay, I just need to start remembering that that's an option of like, you don't have to have the drive-through option. You can like make something similar at home and then you're not missing out entirely. Like, it's just like little techniques, little guidelines, little things that we can try out and practice and see if they work. It's not like, oh, I'm just ruining this for myself. Like, because that puts you in a really negative space that can then spiral and get to the point where we don't want to do anything. So, like, as Rachel and I reflect, like, I think we're both doing a great job of not beating ourselves up. Like, look at it at the facts, because, thoughts are not facts. So, factually, what happened this year? Like, what did we accomplish? What are some things that went well? Like, what made sense for us? What didn't work? We can talk about why it didn't work, or maybe it's just okay that it didn't work and we just leave it in 2022 and we don't bother with it again in 2023. Like just as simple as accepting the fact that like setting a jump roping goal, it seems silly, but like that can apply to literally any concept, right? It's like that didn't work for us. There's no shame in it. Like this season of life, it just like wasn't the goal for us. Now it's like, oh, I'm going to do 100 single unders every time I go to the gym because the jump rope's right there and there's space for me to do it. And I know that that's a standard. If I want to do these competitions, like I have to be able to do it. So I'll do the bare minimum for that and then like check that box. But like, it's okay, like to leave some things in the past and be like, that just didn't work for me. And that's okay. Like, but then there are some things where it's like, I know that there's something that kind of works. Maybe it just needs a little tweaking or, like I think spending time reflecting can be so helpful in that way. If we're getting curious and we're sticking with the facts, we're not like placing judgment of like, oh, well, I should be at goal by now, or I shouldn't have put on the weight, or I should know like how to handle these work situations because, this technique or that. I mean, all these things take practice and they take a lot of time. And so it's okay if you didn't change your whole life in a year.
Well, there's so many moving parts to our lives. You know what I mean? During this year, I ended up getting a promotion. My hours changed. So my activity had to change because I was working out first thing in the morning because I wasn't going in until 10. And now I'm going in, 3 hours earlier than that. So either do I work out now in the afternoons or do I work out so things are going to change. Things are going to alter. And that's okay. And like, I literally had somebody ask me recently, like, she had just restarted back and she was like, oh, I'm loving this high that I'm on right now, but what do we do when that comes down? And I have had that happen this year where it just that momentum, that excitement has come down. And I kid you not though, our community talking with Maggie every week, that accountability and just like we're saying right now, recognizing the wins, learning from the things that weren't successful. That I think is what's keeping me going instead of like, oh, forget it. I can't do this. I don't know why. Why do I even try? No, that not once has crossed my mind. But did I put weight on this year? Yes, I did. Did I like kind of like lose myself in my scheduling? I did. But that doesn't mean that I can't find that again. That doesn't mean that I can't reinvent my schedule. That doesn't mean that I can't change up my activity and try something new.
And it doesn't mean that you quit. No. It doesn't mean that you ever quit. And I think, like Rachel said, I think making it a constant conversation, whether it's with yourself in your journal, out loud in the mirror, whether it's to friends in a workshop, in Connect, on social media, on the podcast, in the comments, like wherever, making sure you're having the conversation every single day of like, when they say lifestyle, They don't
Yes.
mean this is your lifestyle until you get to goal. They don't mean
Yeah.
like this is your lifestyle until you turn 50. Like this is
Yeah.
literally like until you leave this earth. And so that can get boring, that can get mundane, but like we would never say like, oh, I'm too bored to brush my teeth. Like this is just things that we do. And so
Yeah.
like constantly having that conversation of like, these are the healthy things that I do. And I think I meant to text Rachel about this. I think a fun episode for the new year would be to talk about like our lifestyle non-negotiables, like just the things that we
Ooh.
do like without thinking or
Yeah.
without like a lot of conversation. It's just like the things that are really important to us, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like this isn't just about getting to a number. This is about our overall health and well-being, like
Mhm.
our blood work, like being off certain medications, like being able to go on hikes or fit in roller coasters or sit comfortably in restaurants or like avoid oh my gosh, there was this quote that someone shared. There's a girl called Nikki Gets Fit. She has an
Yeah.
Instagram and a YouTube channel. Love her stuff. She like was talking about her wake up call moment and how she saw this quote, something along the lines of, you can either spend time now taking care of your health or spend time later taking care of your illness.
Mhm.
And I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
that, so sure, like on the scale, were we perfect this year? I mean, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Were we perfect with our tracking this year? What does that even mean? No. But like we didn't give up on ourselves. We didn't quit. And we had
Nope.
a lot of things to celebrate. And we created this podcast and a
I
huge community that of like
Yeah.
wonderful people that check in and celebrate and support us. So like there are a lot of things that went well. It's easy to harp on the things that didn't go so well because
Yeah.
that's what we want to get curious about so we can try something different.
Yeah.
But I don't want this to be like, oh shucks, like regrets of 2022. That's not what this is. It's just like
No.
voicing and having that conversation.
Yep.
So I think we're doing a great job at reflecting. Go us.
Yes, I know. Well, so okay, let's get to our star goals and recommendations for this week, because I feel like my recommendation is very my recommendation is going to be very much centered around this week's topic. But I went first last week, so do you want to go first?
Sure. My star goal, as I warned you all, is just to maintain my tracking streak. I really hope that by the time this episode goes live, I have done so. And if I didn't, if I missed a day, that's okay. We'll start a new streak, but I have a feeling I'll be able to accomplish it because I've voiced it to all of you.
Yep.
My recommendation is totally random. Not related to the topic at all. But I think
Okay.
I recommended a cup from Walmart like earlier on, maybe around the summertime.
I think so.
I went ahead and invested in the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say I love it because some of the listeners like actually keep in touch with my cup journeys and like want my cup. I don't know. So it has a handle. It fits in the cup holder. It has a straw, and you can tell the quality difference between this one and the Walmart version. I had the Walmart version for like 7 or 8 months, and finally was like, okay, you can invest in like the Stanley version. It's it's more expensive, but like you can tell the quality is just better. The ice holds longer. So anyway.
I know, just recently. So I typically do like, multiple of my 20-ounce bottles a day. Well, that was working when my schedule was different. Now that my schedule is different, it was getting weirder for me to like, I don't know, break down my day time-wise. So I got a 64-ounce bottle and I keep it at the station and I'm there. I just tell myself this needs to be empty before I leave here at 2:30. And I've been doing it. And then everything beyond that, the water I drink at home is just icing on the cake. And I've been pretty proud of myself with that one. Yay. Okay. So my goal this week is very same as last week. Like I'm like I said, I'm building back up on going to the gym. So I want to get to the gym twice again this week. Like I just want to start maintaining it because essentially I want to get up to 3 strength training sessions. If I, go for walks and all of that, ride my bike, that's all different. But I want 3 strength training sessions. And you know what? Actually, a couple weeks ago when our buddy Donato was on, Donato said something that I was like, oh, I like that. I love that he had kind of a window of a win, if that makes sense.
Right.
He's like, so
like 4 to 5.
Yeah. So I'm like, like even if I just get to the gym once, I'm still going to be proud of that. But so 1 to 2 is my what I'm shooting for. But if I still just get there that once, I'm still cool with that because I'm working on getting up to 2 being a consistency. So 2 again is my goal for this week. And then guys, write it down. take a picture of it. Like I said, I write these things down. I will break them down. I'm very analytical. I like to see it. I like to break it down. I like to know what my goals are. I like to reflect on my month. Maggie tracks it with video and audio and with pictures. But however you need to track your progress, however you need to monitor what's working for you or what's not working for you, write it down. Take a picture of it. Have some sort of something we can look back on, reflect on, and work with into the future. So that's my recommendation this week. Because I mean, I know that's not going to work for everybody, but writing it down physically works for me. I just like it. I like to see it. I like to look back at it. Let me look at it right now. Like, this is what I did a year ago. And I love being able to look back at that and be like, cool. And that one was me reflecting on the year before. So now I'm going to do it again. And I like to have that and see that progress, because we don't see the progress every day. We don't recognize the small wins until we can look back on it. So I like to write it down, but if you want to write it down, take a picture, just document it in some way, shape, or form. Scrapbook it if you need to, but keep some sort of a record.
Take note.
I know. All right,
I do have a quote, y'all.
Yay!
The quote of the day is, always go with the choice that scares you most, because that's the one that is going to help you grow.
I feel like Maggie did that with her Dopey challenge.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited, y'all. We've raised over $1,300 and I'm trying to stay so positive about it. When I tell you it's really hard, it is really hard. When I tell you I can't wait for it to be over, I can't wait for it to be over. I'm very thankful that I have functioning legs, functioning health.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, if you're a listener out there, please don't tell me how crazy I am, because I think about it every day. So I know you're trying to be supportive and like tell me how like awesome it is, but just wish me luck on my training. Leave it at that. Okay.
I know. I'm crazy.
I'm just trying to stay positive over here.
Yes. Well, we are so proud of you. And when it comes to the week, so it's the first week of January, we'll let everybody know. Because can we track you during your race?
Yeah, you'll be able to track all of the races except the 5K, because they don't time that one. So everything else. Now, like Rachel, you will still be in bed.
More than likely,
the races. Yeah, like West Coast friends, like, sorry, I'll be done before your alarms even go off. But East Coast friends, you can track me, and of course, I'll keep y'all posted on social media and stuff. Just a few weeks away.
I know. Oh my gosh. All right, friends. Well, we've got one more episode this year, and as a reminder, remember, we are going to be taking a couple weeks off for the holidays and end of the year, and then we will join you back as of January 4th. So we got one more episode next week. And then we're going to take a little bitty break. So thanks for dropping by, though.
Have a magical day. Bye.
Bye.